All right, we previewed the college football season. Now to get more specific to our team, the Pitt Panthers. So, yep, this is season 2, episode 5, the Sports Talk with Duey podcast. Today we're previewing the 2025 Pitt football season. I have the Fishes back, and then we have the man, the myth, the legend himself, Pitt Pope Ian Labatch. So let's start off by recapping last season and go over what went wrong. So if you live under a rock, it's okay. I'll recap you. So we started 7-0, had some amazing wins. The offense looked good. The defense started off a little slow, but the offense really picked it up. Then, unfortunately, we lost 6 in a row. Heartbreak after heartbreak. The Fish could talk about the SMU game.
Gosh, that was not fun.
Virginia, we should have won that game, but we lost. Clemson, everyone knew what happened that game. Club Nicola, we broke all of our hearts. We get boat raced by Louisville. We lose to Boston College, and then we lose to Toledo, which was absolutely terrible. I guess the reasons why we did fall apart was the offensive line, Branson Taylor going down, that kind of spiraled everything, and the offensive line could not protect Eli, and Eli started getting injured. And then, like I said, every game, just something went wrong, and it was just an absolute brutal time to be a Pitt fan. The Fish, what do you have to say about last season, and what do you think truly went wrong?
I mean, it was just very unfortunate, to be honest with you. I mean, like starting out 7-0, I was telling all my friends here in Boston, like, "Oh, watch out for the Pitt Panthers. We're gonna make the playoff. We're making moves this year," and then it just completely collapsed. My one buddy will not let me hear the end of it because I was just telling him how good we were. The end of the season was just horrible. Obviously it all started at that SMU game that I had the missed pleasure of being at. Literally nothing went wrong. Like from the start of that game, you could tell like there was a crazy catch SMU made. Like I think it was Rashad Battle should have had a pick six. I think first couple plays of the game just completely whiffs. SMU guy grabs it from behind him and then just runs down the field. Like you could tell from there it was not going to be a good day. Dez couldn't get going. Eli couldn't find open receivers. He struggled a lot in the middle part of that season. I wonder how much of that is due to the injury, because obviously he sat out most of the end of the season. But obviously there were some bad signs earlier in the year too. It's just his clutch play got us over the top in those close games against Cincy, WVU earlier in the year, where the end of the year a lot more goes wrong. Offensive linemen get hurt. He has less confidence in the pocket, and he's not able to make those types of throws. So I think it's a combination of Eli wasn't himself, obviously being hurt, and then when Nate did play formidably well when he came in against Clemson, should have won us that game. And I just kind of throw the last 3 games, Louisville, BC, and Toledo, out the window. Like the Toledo game, we were giving a charity start to like a fifth string walk on quarterback. I don't mean to discredit. I can't remember the guys. I feel bad
Hey,
now. I can't remember his name.
shout out David Lynch. I TA'd him in managerial accounting. He was a pretty
There you
hard
go.
worker.
I'm sure he's a really nice guy and a good worker, but that was not the best performance. And probably if we go with Duggar, the result ends up being a little different. But again, you just throw those out the window. Everyone had kind of given up at that point after the heartbreaking Clemson loss. Actually, 3 heartbreaking losses in a row. It was just super frustrating to watch the end of last year with the highs that we were at and how low it sunk. So hopefully this year, maybe we can have a little bit less of an emotional roller coaster, a little more static throughout the year, like a straight line. But we'll see. I just hope that we don't have as bad of a collapse as we did last year.
The Pope, what you were front row to a lot of these games. What were your thoughts?
Well, I think you have to. Everyone's gonna look at the negatives, right? Last 6 games, but at the end of the day, you have a first-year offense with a guy who's making his way to the Power Four level. I think Cade Bell learned a lot in his first season at Pitt, enough to earn him a 3-year extension. So people in the athletics department must like enough of what happened. I think you saw a lot of the positions that were subpar to end the year be addressed heavily in the portal. So you talked about Branson Taylor going down. Well, you have 4 transfer offensive linemen coming in. Corner, you have a guy getting healthy to hopefully take the reins of Gandy. And then another year of the D linemen getting healthy should be big. But for last year, kind of tried to forget a lot about it. The bowl game, I think a lot of people are reading too much into it. It's not the loss is bad, but I don't think that the Game Above Sports Bowl was taken super serious, and I think that it was kind of a way to try and keep Julian Duggar from getting too many eyes on him, and then eventually when you bring in a transfer quarterback who was in Cade Bell's system, recruited by Cade Bell. It pushes a guy like Julian Duggar into the portal. And now we're here.
Yeah, I mean, to Penn State and West Virginia fans, the game above Sports Bowl meant more to them than to us. It's all you see on Twitter some of these days.
Like, holy Toledo. They said under every post. It's ridiculous.
Brett's nerd. He probably watched that whole game. He watches it every single day. It's probably the best thing that's ever happened to him. Well, you know what? Like Ian said, let's put last season in the rear view. Let's stay in the present. Let's forget all the bad that happened last year. Let's focus on this really exciting team. So let's go over all the position groups and the depth chart. So we'll start off with the most important position on the field, and that's the quarterback, Eli Holstein. So the Fish, what do you want to see from Eli this year, and are you confident in this guy?
I am very confident in him. I know I was saying that at the end of last year, he did miss a lot of throws. He looked a little bit shaky at times. But we got to keep in mind, this is a freshman that we're talking about who's going to be a sophomore this year. When Kenny was a freshman, he missed a lot of throws, even his sophomore year. I know Duey, you got really upset with him after a lot of games that year. I wasn't friends with you at the time, but you had showed me some of your snap stories, whatever. And I agree. That UVA game at the start of that year, he was just nothing like the 2021 version that won us the ACC. And I see in Eli some of those same the clutch genes that can't really be coached into him, and those sort of mechanical things. Those other things can. So I think it's a matter of getting the most out of his development moving forward. And I am confident in him this season taking a big step forward.
I think it's just what Eli Holstein do you get? I mean, I was front row at the Cincinnati game when you saw the tale of two halves, pretty much the tale of three quarters. Eli Holstein played an amazing fourth quarter, halfway through the third quarter in Cincinnati to have us come back in that crazy game. But then you see the valleys of what happened at the end of last year. So I think if you get a more steady Eli Holstein, the sky's the limit for this team. I would like to see him be in contention for best quarterback in the ACC. I don't have any number projection wise because we have Desmond Reed, who's going to be a whole other animal that we're going to get to. But I would just love to see Eli Holstein being talked about as one of the best quarterbacks in the ACC and hopefully nationally.
I love Eli. Last year, I feel he got a bad rap because we were so in the heat of the moment and watched the games. But then after the season, like, you know what? This guy lost his blindside left tackle. Other guys got injured. Those first 7 games, this guy was moving around the pocket like Patrick Mahomes, slinging it all around the field. Fourth quarter comebacks. I mean, these guys are like what the Fish said. This guy's literally a freshman. He was doing that stuff, leading fourth quarter comebacks against 2 rivals. So I think if he gets a healthy O-line, he could do his thing, move around the pocket, make plays, sling dimes. I love this guy. I think I'm so excited for his sophomore season. I'm so happy he came back. I think he's in for what Ian said, be one of the best quarterbacks in the ACC. So let's move on to a position that Pitt's famous for is the running back. The Fish, I know you were saying that Desmond Reed could be better than some of the Pitt running backs. So what are you looking to see from Des Reed this season?
Yeah, I mean, he just needs to keep being more of himself. What we saw last year, he already the second game into the season, I was like, this guy could be the best back that we've seen since Shady and Deion Lewis, those types of guys. He's a really similar back to Deion Lewis, like a pass catcher, really agile coming out of the backfield, and he also, even with his small stature, he's a great pass blocker. Puts his nose down, is able to protect the quarterback. That's something that's really going to be really valuable moving forward at the next level for him. And I think he's definitely going to be a great professional running back, and we're going to see some of the fruits of that this year. I'm super excited for him as someone who grew up rooting for a lot of those Pitt greats. I wrote one of my Pitt admissions essays about James Conner, his resiliency. So it's really cool to see another Pitt great at running back. I think one other thing to note about this position group, I like Jules Goff a lot. What we saw from him in the Game of Sports Bowl, very similar receiving back to Dez. I wonder if he learns a little bit from him, and he is a redshirt freshman this year still. So he's got a lot of time to improve, and at least this year learn from Dez and then maybe take the reins next year if we don't get a transfer or something.
How about you?
I think I could talk for days about Desmond Reed, but you're going to hear about that everywhere. I think that what my biggest concern about the running back group is who is your change of pace back in this offense? You talk about Jules Goff as kind of a 1B. Like, he's not as good as Desmond Reed, but he's going to have to play a similar role as a receiving back, more east and west runner. So who's going to be the guy in short yardage situation? Derek Davis has recently become a coach for this year while redshirting. We got a transfer from Western Carolina who's his 8th year of college football. So who's going to be that short yardage back that really can get us the yards when we need it? Because we saw last year Desmond Reed cannot have the ball 40 times a game. As much as we'd like to see that, it just is not possible, and you need to give him some sort of rest.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I love Desmond Reed, but he's a little guy. I don't think I shouldn't say that. He's pretty tough and strong, but he's pretty small. Like he's like 5'8". I don't think he's an every down back. I think he should be used strategically. But yeah, I want to see more. I mean, Derek Davis, I was pretty disappointed from last year. He had the great touchdown against West Virginia, but other than that, he didn't do anything. But I do love Jules Goff. I think he's pretty similar. So I'm looking at Jalen Williams. This guy's like 6 foot, 225 pounds. He scored a lot of rushing touchdowns and short to gain carries at Western Carolina. So I'm looking for him for those short yardage plays. But my sleeper, I saw him at the spring game, and I see a lot of people talking about him on Twitter, is Ja'Kirian Turner. This guy's extremely fast. He looked great the spring game. Pitt people on Twitter are talking about him, so I think he could be someone that, as a true freshman, that we could look at to maybe be a role here if Des Reed needs a break or he gets banged up or there's any injury. So I'm looking forward to him. So I guess he is a sleeper for this team coming up. So let's look at wide receivers. The Fish, what do you see in this position group?
I see a lot of transfers, a lot of uncertainty here, which is kind of what we saw last year. Like brought in a lot of these Western Carolina guys, and who knows how they were going to perform. I think Poppy Williams, he had a type of season where beginning when we were winning, he was making those plays. He was a consistent pass catcher. And near the end of the season, a drop problem started to creep in. I wonder what version of him we'll get this year. Kenny Johnson, he did take a step forward last year. Everyone was like, it's a breakout year for him. He's going to emerge. Some people like he had 537 yards, 3 touchdowns. Some people will say, yeah, and he broke out. Others will say we need another step from him this year. I think as now that Konate's in the NFL and he's the number one guy, this is his time to show himself out to NFL scouts and to that next level talent and say, I can be this number one guy for a great quarterback in Eli. So I'm excited to see what Kenny has this year. And then the transfers that we brought in, Deuce Vaughn and Blue Hicks. Deuce Vaughn, there's been a lot of people talking about him. His athleticism, he's really fast, versatile. He's going to be used in a lot of situations this year. I think that'll fit well into Cade Bell's offense. And the fact that he's a 6-year senior, a lot of experience at FSU and Illinois, I think he's someone who's already being talked about a lot, and I'm excited to see what he does this year.
How about you, Ian?
I think the biggest point is who is wide receiver 2 on the step chart. I think Kenny Johnson, if this team's going to be successful, has to be the guy for this Pitt roster. But you can't win an ACC championship with one receiver, right? I mean, you're going to need production from someone else. And you mentioned Poppy Williams. One of the guys that I keep hearing a bunch from spring camp and when I was there, I got to see a lot of Tony Kinsler, who people have been really high on. I just think it's interesting. Cade Bell really seems to recruit these 6 foot, 180-pound receivers that they're fast. You can't teach speed, but you also can't teach size. So Cade Bell seems to bank on the speed and hoping to get these guys open. And at the end of last year, they weren't seeming to be super open for Eli. So I think the next step is seeing who emerges as wide receiver 2 and how Cade Bell can scheme these guys open throughout the year.
Yeah, you guys nailed it. I think Kenny Johnson will be the wide receiver 1. We saw a lot of good things from him, but we need to see him do it for 12 games. I think he had some games where he was kind of invisible, but I think Poppy Williams, his releases he gets really open, but that guy got to catch the ball. If he catches the ball, he could have an all ACC season. So I think he will be the wide receiver 2. Then yes, here we're going to talk about Blue Hicks, his speed. It's funny because he only had one good game last year and it was against Pitt. That's probably why we got him. But yeah, Sincere Lee's a veteran. Deuce Spann might be like a kick returner, punt returner, but he's extremely fast. Tyreek Robinson's an absolute speedster. But yes, I've been hearing the same thing, Ian, about Tony Kinsler and Cam Sapp. I was at the spring game. You probably were too. Those guys looked very impressive at that game. I'm not sure if they'll be contributors this season, but definitely for the future. But this room there's no household names really, but there is a lot of depth and potential here. So I agree with what you guys are saying. So let's go to tight end. Fish, what do you want to see from guys like Jake Overman and maybe even Malachi Thomas?
I just want to see reliability and health. I think those are the most important things. In Cade Bell's offense, they're not going to have a huge pass catching role. Kind of what we saw last year from Bart. He played on the outside quite a bit, and like we kind of ran short routes a lot of the time. Was using a check down. A lot of people said that he was misused in this offense. That's kind of one of the dissenting opinions, or like the people who aren't as fond of Cade Bell's offense. They'll use that as like a sticking point to say Bartholomew is one of the best tight ends that Pitt has had recently. Why didn't we use him more? I just think that these guys might be using that same circumstance. So I'm not sure. I guess it's not so much of what do I expect to see from the players themselves. I'm just kind of curious to see how they fit into the scheme. Will they be used in a similar way? I think Overman, as a guy who's a fifth or sixth year senior, because he was at Oregon State for a while. Pat Thomas was here last year, got some playing time. I'm not super worried about their performance. I just want to see how they fit in.
Yeah, I know you're buddies with Overman.
Yeah, I think like talking to Jake about the room is you have a lot of veteran leadership here. You have Jake, who's a 6-year from Oregon State, and then Justin Holmes, who's a senior. And then you have Malachi Thomas and Max Hunt, who Narduzzi talked really highly of Max Hunt today. I think what I was listening to some Chris Peak episodes of going down the deep dive of Pitt tight end rooms, and the Fish, you talked about how Cade Bell doesn't use the tight end, but you can also go all the way back into Narduzzi's first couple years here. And the most successful tight end has really been Scott Orndorff in 2016. And they really didn't use him in a traditional tight end role either. I think I would like to see some more chips, especially if you have issues with ends. You can have Jake, who's a good blocker, kind of chip and make sure that our tackles are fine, which we'll get into, who I think is going to be the starting line next year. But I think there's a valuable role that they play, but casual Pitt fans will not see the value in the tight end room this year.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I'm gonna talk about Malachi Thomas later in the episode because I'm very high in him. Overman's solid. Thomas is a really good receiver. Holmes, I think he's known for his blocking. Yeah, I mean, I love Bartholomew. You see the talent he had. I think watch out the NFL. I think Kevin O'Connell's going to find some work for Gavin Bartholomew this season.
I think he has a back injury. I think he's on the PIP list. So
Yeah, you ruined it for me.
yeah.
But it's okay. He'll find his way in the NFL. But this tight end room, like all you guys saying, is not used, but they're going to be valuable for blocking. I still think these guys are going to catch some touchdowns this year. But I think it's a decent room, and they're calling themselves the Herd, I think.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. So let's talk about maybe the most valuable thing on any football team. It's the offensive line, especially for Pitt. The Fish, what do you want to see from this line this year? Any guys you want to see step up, or any guys, I'm confident they're going to be pretty good.
I just want to see health. I want to see consistency and health. Because you look at the last couple of years, 2021, we had such a good offensive line. They stayed healthy throughout the season, and we won the ACC. 22, we had such a good offensive line. Everyone came back for 2021. There were a couple injuries throughout the year. We didn't perform as well, but they did kind of like, in general, stay together. And we had a pretty decent year. Then 2023 comes around. Our one NFL draft pick, offensive tackle Matt Goncalves, gets hurt week 3 out for the season, and that's just kind of where the wheels started to fall off. And then last year, same deal. You get like Branson Taylor hurt out for the year, and the things start to fall off near the end of the season whenever you have those injuries on the offensive line. I said this at the beginning of last year. I'm saying it this year. What this team ends up doing will be determined based off of how healthy the offensive line can stay. If we can have the same group of 5 guys, or maybe 6 or 7, rotating a guy in, play throughout the whole year, those guys get comfortable in those positions, then we'll be really successful this year. Shout out to my boy Trevor. I was talking to him about this. He was telling me at the end of last year that Eli wasn't able to step into his throws because he's not as confident in his offensive line, and that's where some of the inaccuracies in the throws came in. So it's a lot more than just these guys that start are better pass blockers. I mean, it's psychological too with the other players on the field. When you got a guy like Ryan Baer who's being thrown all over the place, he can't get settled in one place and has all these holding penalties, has all these issues. He was supposed to be a really highly touted prospect. I want to see him have a breakout year this year. I want to see him be more consistent, stay in the same place all year. Hopefully he doesn't get moved around. And those transfers on the left side, Jeff Percy and Keith Gouvier, or I don't know how to pronounce his name, but they're going to bring Gouvier.
You're good.
They're going to provide some really consistent veteran leadership that's much needed in this line where, you've got some guys who are a little bit younger in BJ Williams and Ryan Baer. So hopefully they stay healthy.
All right, the Pope, your turn.
Yeah, so I think the line's gonna be on your left tackle, probably to protect Eli's gonna be John Percy, the Michigan transfer. Not a ton of experience there in an everyday role, but he played in a ton of games on special teams. He's huge. I've seen him in person. He's like 6'8", 6'9". Like, he's a massive tackle, and Eli can use someone to protect his blind side. Keith Kuvea, I think is how you pronounce it. He's probably going to be the left guard this year, and then you're going to have Stanley, the other transfer from Charlotte, as like a sixth offensive lineman who, in theory, should be able to protect against any injury, the first injury that happens, that will probably inevitably happen on the offensive line. And then Cooper, BJ Williams, and Ryan Baer will line that out, which I think it's crazy. Even though Cooper was here last year, you have 3/5 of your line are transfers that I don't think is a normal part of a Pitt offensive line. However, I think that's what college football is now, and I think we're in a better place because of the transfer portal and this new system.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, when the season ended, I was like, you know what? I'm going to track this transfer portal hard. And every time we got to commit, I was doing so much research on these guys. Gouvier was very solid at Richmond. Another guy no one's really talking about is Kendall Stanley. I thought he was graded as almost an elite offensive lineman at Charlotte. I wouldn't be shocked if Stanley's starting over Ryan Baer, because Ryan Baer, like the Fish said, he was completely awful last year because he was mostly playing out of position at left tackle. So I don't know. I guess he could be a better fit at right tackle, but I think Stanley, I don't know why he would not start at right tackle. Lyndon Cooper's amazing. But Percy, he graded out pretty well in Michigan, even though he didn't play that much. He's very comfortable at left tackle, which we needed. EJ Williams, I think he's really good. He's young. He started out young. I mean, it's his third year starting now. He's going to have the experience to become good. I think this line is very improved with these transfers. I'm just hoping that we got a guy from Richmond, we got a guy from Charlotte. I hope they can adjust to Power 4 football. And Percy played in Michigan, so he's literally seen war. So this line should be improved. And yes, I 100% agree with you, the Fish. This is the X factor for this year's Pitt team. We're going to talk about that more later on in the pod. So, yeah, we covered the offense. Let's go to the defense. Let's go with the edge rush. Well, just go with it. Just combined edge rush and defensive tackles. All right, the Fish, go ahead. What do you want to see from this group this year?
I want to see more sacks. Last year, we didn't apply that much pressure from the edges. What's his face? Who is the Kansas State transfer?
Nate Matlack.
Nate Matlack. He was kind of a disappointment by all measures. Jimmy Scott was really good at times. You look at that Cal game, I think he had like 4 sacks. That was really cool to see. But you could see the effect that losing Charlie Partridge had on this pass rush. We definitely did not apply as much pressure as we have in past years. If Jimmy Scott can get more consistent, he could be one of those next Juan Price type of players who's just great pass rusher, like game wrecker. But I'm just interested to see how they develop without Partridge there. You know what I mean? I think the interior defensive line, Sean Fitzsimmons has been around for a while. Nick James, you saw some of his talent last year. And some of the young guys like Francis Brew and Jashir Whittington, the bread man. We'll see how much more of a role that they play this year, because they got a lot of potential too as more highly touted recruits. And of course, Isaiah Neal, who flipped the bird to the West Virginia player during that blocked punt touchdown last year. That was pretty sick. So, and he seems like the Tommy Pham type of player, a little bit like a little bit of a head case, but I think he was ejected for targeting at one point last year. Yeah, he definitely was. It might have been that West Virginia game, but anyways, you kind of get what I'm saying.
All right, the Pope, what do you think?
I think you have more talent in this D line. I think it's very similar to the wide receiver room on offense, where you have a lot of potential. They're also moving Isaiah Ghost Neal to an edge role, so you free up more defensive tackle positions for like a Jahsir Whittington, who's down 25 pounds, looks amazing. You have people on the interior that can kind of get pressure, and with the edge rushers, I think the bigger issue from last year was Nate Matlack was very high in the ACC in pressures. He didn't finish anything. He finished with roughly 5 sacks, but he had more pressures than a lot of other guys with more sacks. So I think the the message for this line group in general should be finishing those sacks and wrapping guys up in the backfield. So that's what I'm looking for along with Fish is more sacks.
Yep. I feel pretty good about the defensive tackles. I think Fitzsimmons is an absolute stud. Nick James Nick James showed good stuff last year. Francis Bray was really good last year when he was given a chance. He's an absolute freak. I did not know that Isaiah. I like Isaiah Neal, so I think wherever you put him, he'll be really good. Yeah, Jazier Whittington, people are very high on him as well. I want more pass rush. That's what we're all used to with Charlie Partridge. You got to get after the quarterback. We need consistency. Blaine Spires and Joey Zielinski are two guys that came from the group of 5 that should provide that. I'm hoping that Zielinski graded out very well. Spires, I think, will be a pass rush specialist. I mean, then Jaden Moore, a guy from Oregon. If he's come from Oregon, he has to be good, right? So, yeah, I feel good about the defensive tackle. We need the edge rushers to really step up and get after and bring back the QBK and literally kill the quarterback, especially week 3 against West Virginia.
And I think to round out this conversation, I think in a defense of scheme like Narduzzi and Randy Bates have, where you just throw guys exotic blitzes at the quarterback, you got to get home, right? And that's the thing that you can have all the pressures in the world, but if you don't get home in that situation, then your secondary is shit out of luck when the ball goes downfield.
Yep, good stuff, the Fish. All right, let's talk about the position group that we're probably the most confident about. It's probably like the best position group in all of college football. Yep, that's right. It's the Sharks, our linebackers. The Fish, man, I mean, what do you even have to say about this
I
group?
mean,
Like, what else is
I
there
don't
to say?
there really isn't anything else to say. Like I'll just say, go watch the Syracuse game highlights from last year. That's all you got to see. Literally, all 3 of these guys, the starters, Rasheed Biles, Kyle Lewis, and Braylon Lovelace, had pick sixes in the first half of that game. It was insane. So it's going to be a joy to watch them play again. Kyle Lewis is going to be a first round NFL pick this year. I don't know if that's a hot take, but that's my prediction at least.
All right, how about you, the Pope? Front row to the Sharks last year.
I think the thing that people don't want to hear about the Sharks is that if you get production from the D tackles like we just talked about, Kyle Lewis and Rasheed Biles will not have that level of production as they had last year. Last year, you got no pressure from your ends, which means you had to have more tackles for losses and more sacks from your linebackers. So people might look at a Kyle Lewis stat line year over year and see decrease in all stats. But the thing is, he's probably playing a better season than he did last year. You're just getting more production from the rest of the team. The last thing I'm going to shout out is Cam Lindsey, Jeremiah Marcelin are absolute studs. You will probably not see them in an actual role here at Pitt this year besides special teams. But if Kyle Lewis and Rasheed Biles are in the NFL, these guys are going to have huge roles next year, and they're some guys to watch out for the next coming years.
You nailed it, the Pope. One of the best things that's been said this podcast. You were exactly right. Lewis and Biles had those seasons last year because we had no pass rush. They were our pass rush. They were absolutely fantastic last year because they're literally doing everything for us. So they're going to have great years, but it would be nice if the defensive line gets some more sacks because your pass rush should mostly not be from literally your middle linebackers. So your Sam and Will, whatever the terms are. So, but yes, Marcelin, I've heard a lot out of Cam. Jaden Bonzu kind of interests me. He's a transfer from Ohio State. He's a converted safety. Again, if you're coming from Ohio State, you must be doing something right. But yes, overall, this room is going to be amazing. Maybe this year, maybe the defensive line steps up a little bit more, so Lewis and Biles could take maybe a little bit more of a backseat on some plays. Not to do literally everything this year, but those guys are absolutely fantastic, and they're the Sharks for a reason. So, all right, last position group on defense. We'll just do all defensive backs. The Fish, this is Narduzzi's calling, is the defensive backs. What do you want to see from this group this season?
I mean, they just got to hold their own, it's especially in those types of schemes where you're going to have the corners on an island and hope your pass rush gets home. if God forbid it doesn't, these guys just gotta stay strong, play good man-to-man defense. And I mean the safeties, I think I'll talk a little bit more about Cruz Brookins in our next segment, but I think they're in for a big year. You know, McIntyre's still around. He's been around for a while, ton of experience, and Brookins right next to him. I think the safeties will be huge. But I would be remiss if I didn't say rest in peace to Mason Alexander. It's just super heartbreaking what happened earlier in the offseason. It sucks because he, for like all indications were he was going to be an absolute stud. It's just really sad to not see his name on the depth chart.
How about you, the Pope? And great shout out to Mason.
Yeah, I think I want to see who's that third safety. You know, McIntyre, like you said, has been around a while. We have a transfer, Rashawn Murray, who might take a big step. I mean, yeah, we can talk about Cruz Brookins all the time. I think we're going to see, we might shock a lot of people who haven't paid attention this offseason, but I think Shadarian Harrison will be named a starting boundary corner before the season starts. I think that if he wasn't hurt last year, he would have played last year. I think linemen battle are good, but you know who those guys are. And I don't know the ceiling of Shadarian Harrison, and I will be drinking the Kool-Aid on Shadarian Harrison for a while.
Yep. I've been hearing a lot of good things from Shadarian Harrison as well. He had a pick during the spring game. I had a friend who was on the training staff. He told me, Duey, a guy look out is Shadarian Harrison. So I'm 100% with you, the Pope. This guy could be our nickel corner. And I'm going to talk more about Rashad Battle. That's my guy. Come on, line him. I thought a lot of good stuff from him last year. Brookins, they're playmakers. I'm liking them. But Kavir Baines, transfer from UC Davis, you graded out amazing last year at the FCS level, so hopefully that translates to the FBS level. Rashawn Murray, heard a lot of good stuff from him. He's a Whitfield guy, transfer from Cal U, I think, so hopefully he can translate to the Power 4. Then Jesse Anderson was a big recruit a couple years ago. Hopefully he could step to the plate this year as well. So I think we got to see depth from the corners. It's very important position in Narduzzi's defense, but I'm pretty confident about the safeties. So, one more position group. You can't forget about these guys. How about the kickers and punters, the Fish?
Yeah, this is honestly, this might be the biggest question mark for out of all of these positions. With the departure of Ben Sauls to the NFL, now we've got a little bit of a position battle at kicker for the first time in a while. Because I'm like pretty much my whole life, I've always kind of known who the kicker's going to be, even if it's just one guy coming in as a freshman. Like you just sort of know he has the job. Now we've got James London, a transfer junior, and Sam Carpenter. Carpenter's been at Pitt for a little bit longer, but London has that experience. I think he's coming from I want to say he's coming from a Group of 5 school.
Free State, so FCS.
Oh, okay, yeah,
John
FCS.
Rand.
Oh, so we'll see how that goes. And then Caleb Junko, I mean, you kind of know what you're getting out of him. Never gonna provide the most power behind his kicks. You might not know where they're gonna end up, but he's a punter, and somehow he was in the Ray Guy Award chase last year, so I'll give him that. So we'll see.
All right, what do you think, the Pope?
I mean, Junko, I every year, like, you're like, holy crap, like, he just hit that ball 70 yards, and then the next one is like 20. If you could see it be consistent, if he just kicked it like 45 yards every time, I'd rather the boomer bust from a special teams guy. Same thing with James London. I would use the spring game. He didn't look great. I haven't heard great things. I think it's Carpenter's job to lose. He's been here longer, has the experience, but at Pitt. But I don't know. I'm not looking forward to watching kicks this year, which is a huge deterrent from the last couple of years of me watching Pitt football.
Caleb Junko's kind of the Alex Kessman of Pitt punter. He absolutely stinks. I can't stand him. Every year, Narduzzi's like, this guy's the best punter of all time. Hits every punt. He can hit it outside of Heinz Field. Then he shanks at 15 yards. I'm just sick of this guy. I know his dad's a Pitt legend, but he needs to. I've had enough of him, just like I had enough with Alex Kessman. So that's all I got to say. This guy is going to hurt us in some capacity. I have no belief in him fixing himself this season. So, yeah, I'm not feeling good about that. Then kicker, it's very scary. I had to deal with a couple years of Alex Kessman. I booed that guy at the Pitt basketball game one year. He's awful. So James London, he missed 2 kicks in the spring game. So I don't know what to expect with him. I don't want to deal with bad kicking anymore. Ben Sauls was a godsend the last 2 years. Sam Carpenter, I kind of hope he wins the job because this guy was a huge recruit as a kicker, and I like using him in College Football 26. So I'm really hoping Carpenter takes the job because I do like him, but I've had enough of Caleb Junko, so I just wanted to say that real quick. So yeah, so let's go to breakout players. Just say who you think's a breakout this season. As many as you got, I don't care.
All right. Well, the main guy, I alluded to this a little bit in our position breakdown, is Cruz Brookins. I mean, we talked about him quite a bit last year as a potential breakout player as a freshman, and he definitely lived up to that hype. He played a very big role as like that nickel defender quite frequently. Was a really good ball hawk. You know, you saw that in West Virginia game really early on when he had the pick in the first half. I think it was crucial. West Virginia was driving close to midfield. It really stunted the momentum. So you have him like as a ball hawk now in a permanent role. I think we're going to see a huge season from him, especially if we apply pressure, get these quarterbacks a little bit more rattled, then you'll see those opportunities for him to make interceptions. And if we look at the wide receiver room, I want to say Poppy Williams is the breakout player because he showed a lot of potential, but it's all going to be up to how he handles this drop problem. If he was able to focus in on that, I think he's in for a big season. Also, Kenny Johnson, someone to watch out for as the bona fide wide receiver one now, because last year it was Kanate, right? So yeah, we'll see how that goes.
All right, the Pope. Who are your breakout players this season?
Yeah, I think it has to be Shadarian Harrison. I think you look at Narduzzi puts corners in the NFL, and Shadarian Harrison is the next guy on that list. I just think he plays the ball skills. It's all there. He wants spring breakout player. Like, he is just that guy, and casual Pitt fans will begin to realize how good he is. And then the last one I'll do is I know he's a transfer, but like Jaden Moore is going to be very good in a role, like not necessarily going down a level of college football. It's still power forward, but to find a role for him where he can get more pass rush, he just did not have the snaps at Oregon. So to drop to Pitt and kind of figure out a role for him where he can be on the field way more, to kind of show why he had some of the higher pressure rates per snaps in the Big Ten in his limited role. And I think that will be huge for the production of the D ends that we were talking about.
Good stuff, good stuff. So I'm gonna be a little not humble right now, but I've always done a really good job of picking out Pitt players that are good before anyone saw them. Last year, I was the first person to say Kyle Luce was a stud. I always knew Jason Pinnock and Damari Mathis would be good. I said Jordan Addison would win the Bolitnikoff the year before, and he did. So whatever I say here means something. So we're gonna start off on offense. My sleeper this year is Malachi Thomas. My guy, Dream Backfield, the most negative guy on Pitt Twitter, he kept telling me, watch out for Malachi Thomas. I did the research. This guy's an elite receiver of the football. He's 6'4", very long arms, very rangy. I think this guy's going to catch a lot of touchdowns this season. I think he'll end up being the starting tight end over Overman. I like Overman. I just think Malachi brings more to the table as a receiver, and hopefully K-Bell throws this guy the ball. On defense, is not really a breakout player. I just want to bring this guy up. Rashad Battle. This guy has been at Pitt for so long. Last year, he had so many weeks where he showed he was like, dang, this guy's a true number one cornerback. I think this year he's been at Pitt for so long. This is the year where this guy breaks out and becomes an NFL draft pick. Another one of those Narduzzi corners that gets you the NFL. He's an all-around cornerback. He could cover. He could really tackle. He had so many tackles for loss last season. I shouldn't be even talking about this guy, but I think he's not talked about enough. I think this year I think we'll talk about Battle Island this year. I think he becomes a cornerback one with all of his experience and becomes one of the best shutdown corners in all of college football. I saw glimpses of it this last year. I'm so excited for Rashad Battle, man, this year. So that is my breakout guy. He's already good, but I think he gets that elite this year and is the next Narduzzi cornerback to get to the NFL. All right, let's go over the schedule now. Good breakout players from both of you guys. So let's start off weeks 1 and 2. The city game is back. Then we have Central Michigan. We don't need to talk about these games. We just got to win these games. The only thing I'll say is that it's nice to have the city game in football, but come on, Jeff Capel. I love you, man. You have to get the city game back in basketball. They added 2 more non-conference games for you. Playing Duquesne, the PPG Paints Arena, is better than playing Youngstown State or whatever. So I love you, Capel, but you got to get this game back. So you guys got anything to say about these 2 non-conference games to start the season?
Wish we didn't have to play directional Michigan again. I have some PTSD from that.
Yeah, I mean, just
Yeah, literally just win, show some good things from the offense, put up a lot of points in those first 2 games. This is the last installment of this contract's backdoor ball. I don't think we see it for another 3 years. We're going to WVU. All right, the Fish. Do we go on the road and win this game?
I think so. Yeah, I'm confident about this game. Eli's the type of quarterback that'll go into that hostile environment, batteries thrown at him all game. You just see a lot of pressure on him, and I think he's going to get the job done. I think the team's going to. We are a lot better. That 1 year that we lost to them in 23, literally everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. Any other year, like even both of the other games, they have the advantage in their hands and they blow it. I think that this one's going to be um, a little bit more consistent. I think we're going to be a little bit more dominant. It's going to be close, obviously, because it is a rivalry game. A backyard brawl is always close, but I have us winning in a narrow one, but one where we have the lead most of the game.
All right, the Pope, are you heading down to Morgantown?
I bought my tickets. I'm going to Morgantown, so
Are you gonna wear your Pope costume?
probably not. I've been threatened online if I go down.
Yeah, so have I with those MFers.
But I think it'll be close. I think my one point is that they're worried about like Pitt not selling out their allotment of tickets, right? I paid $150, which most people aren't gonna do. They're not gonna spend $150 to go get verbally assaulted while watching their team playing a rivalry game. It's not appealing, and I think that people are making it a bigger deal than it is. I think if you're worrying about attendance 10 days before the season starts, you're worrying about the wrong thing, and I just think that it doesn't matter. I think we're gonna go down and win.
I agree. They don't make it safe for us to go. Even Narduzzi said the last time you guys could just stay home and watch it. So I'd rather watch the game in peace. I was gonna go, but rather go see my Yankees in Boston. So I mean, you hear Rich Raw. He thinks this team sucks. Like their defense is gonna suck still. I don't even know who their quarterback is. Like Pitt has so many. Pitt has had this. This is Narduzzi's 10th season. I think I trust Narduzzi in his 10th season more than Rich Rod, who's overall, like, the 13-9 game was an absolute disgrace to West Virginia to lose to us that year. So, how are you gonna trust that guy? So, I'm trusting a guy in his 10th year with his team over a guy who's coming back from Jacksonville State, who's a history of choking big games. So, West Virginia looks like they're gonna stink, one of the worst Power 4 teams this year. I think Pitt goes in there. It'll be a close game, like the Fish said, 'cause it's a rivalry game. But yeah, I have no doubt we are going to win that game by maybe 2 touchdowns. So I think Pitt needs to start 3-0 before Louisville. So yeah, so Pitt will have a bye week after that game to recover from that ruckus environment at 3:30 and come back at week 5 home against Louisville, who Louisville was in consideration to be ranked this year. They're projected to be one of the better teams in the ACC. If USC transfer at quarterback Miller Moss and one of the best running backs in the country, Isaac Brown. So the Fish, how do you feel about this home game against Louisville?
I honestly feel pretty good about it. I know they have Miller Moss coming in. They have some other good pieces from the portal, and there's a lot of hype around them. I just don't see the vision as much for Louisville this year, and especially we'll have confidence built up over the first month of the season, and then that bye week, this home game too. Everything sets up really well for a win here. Even if Louisville is as good as people are saying, I'm confident that we can take this one.
I think the biggest issue is that people are talking about Louisville as like a team that can find quarterbacks and be the new quarterback whisperer school. But the OG quarterback whisperer is Lincoln Riley, and Miller Moss couldn't figure it out with Lincoln Riley. So I just don't see it happening here.
So you both see Pitt winning this game. Unfortunately, I think Pitt's going to drop this one. After a great win at West Virginia, I think Louisville's offense is too much for us, and I think we just kind of drop a home game that we probably should win. So unfortunately, I'm going to chalk this one up as a loss for Pitt. All right, the next weekend's Boston College, Bill O'Brien's second season. I think they just named Alabama transfer quarterback Dylan Lonergan as starter. So how do you guys feel about this game? We'll start off the Fish.
I mean, hopefully I don't regret saying this, but it's BC. We lost them last year, sure, but that was the last game of the season. Yarnell was starting. Des Reed was hurt, I think. Everything was working against us at this point. Another game where we're at home. We've had a ton of confidence, especially after beating Louisville. I think we'll be ranked at this point. I see us beating BC at home here.
But you're the Pope.
Yeah, I don't think Boston College is great, and also in your scenario, if you lose to Louisville, you cannot come and drop a game to Boston College and lose 2 home games in a row, so I think they win it.
Yeah, obviously a scary game. I feel like Pitt always can lose to bad teams at home. We saw it last year against Virginia. We've lost to Boston College a long time ago with A.J. Dillon. We're supposed to win that game. But yeah, I think Pitt's going to win this game. A younger quarterback. Hopefully our defense put some nightmares in his head. So yeah, I've Pitt taking this one at home. Week 7, we go to Florida State. They're coming off like what, a 2-10 season. Thomas Castellanos is a transfer there. How do you guys feel about this game? What do you think?
This is going to be a tough one because it's not Florida State's not going to be as bad as they were last year, and Tallahassee is a tough place to play when the fans are there and doing the war chant or whatever it's called. So it'll be a difficult environment for sure. Castellanos, he honestly has a lot. He's a lot of mobility. But everyone that I've talked to around here who roots for BC football, they tell me he's not like he's kind of a head case, not the best locker room guy. I think he has a lot of talent. I think there's a lot there, but I also think that our team as a collective has more talent. We'll show some cracks. It'll be a close game on the road, but I think we get it done again. I think we start 6-0.
All right, the Pope. What do you think about this game in Tallahassee?
I think it's if we're 5-0, it would be considered a trap game because I don't consider I just don't trust the vision of Florida State. I think to go from a 2-10 team to magically become a 10-win team, which is what like the standard for Florida State should be. I just don't see it there. So I think you're kind of in a rebuilding year, and I think that Pitt will get it done.
I agree with you guys. I don't think Mike Norvell. I think he's overrated. I've always hated this program. I think Narduzzi's defense always does well against like dual threat quarterbacks. So I think Pitt goes in here and wins the game like we did in 2020. We're gonna kick their butt. So yeah, I've Pitt winning this game as well. All right, the next week we go to Syracuse. The Fish. What do you think?
This one is another one that I'm kind of iffy about, especially this will be our second straight week on the road. Cuse is a game that I think we're 8-2 in our last 10 against them. It's a rivalry we've traditionally been very good at. I think Fran Brown's a very good coach. Last year, he brought a team that was dead mid-season up to 9-3 back into the poll near the end of the season. A huge win against Miami. Kyle McCord was great for them. He's gone now. I think they have there's some other. I think their quarterback is another transfer from a high major program. I can't remember who it
Jelly
is.
from Notre Dame.
Yeah. So I think they're going to be good this year, and I just don't see us starting 7-0 again. I have to pencil in a loss at some point, and I think this is the type of game where Florida State will have put some wear and tear on us. We're going a second straight week on the road. I think we lose this one.
What do you think, Ian?
I don't think we win it, but I think that the Syracuse hype train is kind of high. I think we will know what Syracuse is after their week 1 game against Tennessee. I just don't think that Steve Angeli is as good as Kyle McCord and doesn't fit that offense as well. So I think we lose, but I think that the nationwide aura around Syracuse is not as high as it's too high.
I mean, Narduzzi owns Syracuse. The only times we've lost to them is when Max Brown was quarterback and 2 years ago in the Yankee Stadium when our team was just absolutely awful. So I think we've won there, won many times. They don't have Kyle McCord anymore. I think Syracuse will become a really good team. I don't think it's going to be this year. So I think we walk in there and win in the whatever they call it now. It's not the Carrier Dome anymore. So I think we win that game. So, all right, week 9, home against NC State. What do you guys think? The Fish?
Yeah, this is another one where I think this would be a classic Pitt. How do you lose this game? Loss. I just don't think NC State's like crazy good this year. They haven't really been ever since. Even with Brennan Armstrong, whenever he transferred over, they weren't any good. Like everyone there was a lot of hype about them, and they weren't good. So like this is not a game we should lose by any standards. We're at home, but it's Pitt. I think after the Syracuse loss, we'll be a little bit demoralized. I'm getting even more and more nervous as we go through the schedule. Like this sets up so much like last year. We have such a relatively easy schedule to start the season, opportunities for big wins, and then it just gets these trap games and more difficult as the year goes on. So I don't know, just something I noticed.
What do you think, Ian? Week 9 against NC State.
I think it's a trap. I think they probably lose it. I haven't like research a ton of NC State. I mean, I played them twice in NCAA football. It's your stereotypical Virginia loss. It's your like it's not your Western Michigan loss from 21, but it's like your Miami loss. It's what they do, and you have to pencil it in somewhere when doing one of these previews.
Yeah, because it kinda reminds me of 2020, we were playing really well, and then we lose that game. CJ Bailey is a nice young quarterback, but nah, I'm saying Pitt wins this game. We're not I guess I already gave them their loss they should win against Louisville. So, yeah, I'm gonna say Pitt takes care of business against NC State at home. The next one is very interesting to me. We go all the way down to Stanford. The Fish, I think you might be there, right? So what do you
Yeah.
think's gonna happen?
I'm planning on being there. Got some buddies in the Bay Area who are all Pitt fans, so maybe we'll put together a little tailgate there. If you're from the Bay Area and listening to this, let me know. But I think it's just so hard to say we're gonna lose to Stanford. Like everyone's predicting them to be the last team in the ACC. Obviously, again, like we've been saying, oh, this is such a Pitt game to lose, and it's probably will be close if I have us losing 2 in a row leading into this game. But I do think we end up winning. I can't predict us losing to the worst team in the ACC. It shouldn't even be the ACC. It's fake Atlantic Coast Conference team.
And what do you think about this trip all the way to California?
Yeah, I mean, we can't lose to a woke ACC team. That's it. I think you just can't. I can't see ourselves losing it. Which this might be bad in a couple months, but I just can't predict it.
Unfortunately, I just think this is a game that we're gonna lose. We're gonna fly all the way down there and lose like 24-21 in a heartbreaking fashion. It just scares me going all the way down there. I know they stink, but like I don't know. This game scares me. I don't have a good feeling about it. That Stanford, the Sun Bowl game in 2018 still haunts me. So, yeah, I'm gonna take Stanford. I'm gonna take Pitt losing that game. But after that travel, we get a bye week, and we come home against Notre Dame. The Fish, how do you feel about this? Probably the biggest home game this season with running back Jeremiah Love, cornerback Leonard Moore, tackle Emil Wagner, wide receiver transfer from not West Virginia, wide receiver transfer from Virginia, Malachi Fields, who we saw last year, and they just named C.J. Carr a quarterback. So the Fish, what do you think about this Notre Dame team, and do you think Pitt might pull off the upset?
I don't think Notre Dame's going to be as good as they were last year, not nearly without Riley Leonard. Obviously, Jeremiah Love's really good. I think they had their defense probably won't be as good. It's tough to really say, though. Obviously, it's Notre Dame. They're going to be really solid. But near the end of the season, we'll be coming off of a bye to get some players healthy, hopefully. Another home game. I'm feeling good about this one. I don't think Notre Dame's not going to be as good as they had been in previous years. I think we pull the upset here and move to 8-2 on the season.
What do you think, the Pope?
I think it's your classic like Pitt. I don't think you're going to be as bad as like your Clemson 2016 loss, but I think the storyline's a line there. The last time you played Notre Dame, it was an embarrassing showing. You're going to probably be 14.5-point dogs in that. Like, it's going to be rough. And I think that you're going to have juice from the fans because it's your biggest game of the year. You're going to have probably close to a full house. So I can see I can see something happening there. Also funny that Kenny Minchie never gets that job there, but that's a topic for another day.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Notre Dame on paper might not look that good with their quarterback situation, but unfortunately, the reason why we always have lost to them recently is because their trenches, they're just so much bigger than us. So I think we keep it close, but I think Notre Dame will win by a touchdown or 10 points. It's going to be a tough loss, but just going to go with what the history says. We're probably going to lose to Notre Dame. The last time we beat them was 2013 with Ray Venapal's interception, one of the best, my favorite Pitt games. So, all right, let's move. Got 2 more games to cover. Week 13, we're going to Bobby Dodd Stadium. We're taking on Georgia Tech, the Fish. What do you think is going to happen in this game?
If you look back at the college football preview that we did last, I don't know if it was last week, but or the last podcast episode, I think Georgia Tech was one of my sleeper teams with Haynes King, and Brett Key, I think is the coach's name. Well, yeah, they're going to be really good, and this is a road game. This game might be important for ACC title ramifications. Like this might be lose it and you're out of contention for that, and I think we lose this one.
What do you think, Ian?
My issue with playing Georgia Tech this late in the season is I don't think King's going to be healthy. I mean, he that team rides on him, and he just plays so hard. Like, if that guy knew how to slide or get out of bounds, I'd be higher on them. And I'm not to sit here and say that he's, like, not strong, it's just he susceptible himself to so many hits, it's like you're not gonna stay on the field. So, like, I don't think he's gonna still be on the field by that time, or he's gonna be coming off of an injury that, like, we're going to be getting a banged up version of him. So I think we go down there and we win and potentially stay in ACC championship contention.
Yeah, it's just such a tough road game. I agree with the Fish. I think Georgia Tech will have a really good team this year. It's just a tough road game, so I'm gonna say we lose that game. So yeah, the last game of the season, Miami comes to town. We've had some interesting battles with them. So the Fish, what do you think happens in Ian's senior day?
Quick aside on this, is the ACC trying to make like Pitt and Miami a rivalry game? I feel like they always have. Like we always play them at the end of the season,
They
like
do
once
a
every 2 or 3 years. It doesn't really make any sense. But that being said, they are one of the teams in the ACC that I most hate. So maybe it's working. But I think at this point in the season, they'll all hell like broken loose for them. I think Carson Beck might not be the starting quarterback at this point. Heck, even maybe Mario Cristobal might not even be the head coach of the season at this point. Like I don't think Miami's going to be very good. I think our roster is going to look a lot different than the beginning of the season. Their roster is going to look a lot different than the beginning of the season. I mean, our starting lineups. And I have us winning this one. It being a home game, last game of the season. I think we win the game against Miami to finish up 9-3.
All right, Ian, what do you think of your last game?
Yeah, I just don't believe in Carson Beck. I don't believe in Miami. I think you look at their projected starting depth chart, it's like 60-40, 60 transfers, 40% homegrown guys. I think it's super you're banking you paid a ton of your NIL budget to a guy who's coming off of a UCL surgery, who wasn't good before he got hurt last year, going to an offense which even though Georgia led the NCAA in drops last year, it's still on paper a weaker offense than Georgia. I think that their wheels are gonna fall off, like you said, and we're gonna take that. I think that puts me at, like I think Pitt is like a 9-3 team, however you slice it this year.
I agree with you guys. I think we win this game. I talked about a lot last week how much I dislike Carson Beck. I think the Kavner twin got in his head too much. He's gonna have a really bad season. You'll be thinking about her a lot. He'll throw a lot of interceptions. I think the Sharks will make him remind himself of his troubles with the Cavender twins. I think Pitt smokes Miami last week of the season. Carson Beck is gonna cry. I have Pitt at 8-4. You guys have Pitt at 9-3. Yeah, 9-3. I mean, Pitt's only done it. Pitt's only done it once with the ACC championship team. I hope we could just have a nice season this year. You see the town, you see the returning pieces. So we already talked about it a little bit, but the Fish, what is Pitt's keys to success to have a good season, have a 9-3 season?
Yeah, again, I mentioned this earlier, but it's just offensive line health. If they could keep that group together, make Eli a little bit more comfortable there, get some of those younger players. I mean, obviously, everyone's at least a junior there, which is really good. Experience the offensive line matters. But get guys like Ryan Baer and BJ Williams more comfortable. I think that'll go a long way this season towards fulfilling our potential. It's ridiculous, but just not losing these dumb games with that Pitt always seems to do. Because going through the schedule every year, it's like we should win this one, but we're going to lose because Pitt. It happens every year. We just say it every year. It's a matter of if we could somehow avoid those dumb losses that we have no business of taking, we'd be a 9-3 team every year. Instead, we're 7-5, sitting here like, oh, if only we hadn't lost to Southern Mississippi State Valley A&M. You know what I mean?
Well, it's not that bad.
I know.
We lose
I'm
ACC
just
teams.
I'm exaggerating a little bit for comedic effect. I think the schedule sets up really well for us. The teams that we play that are supposed to be ranked to start the season are weaker than they usually are. Those programs, Notre Dame and Miami, and we don't play them until the end of the season. So health and building up those young players' confidence is going to be key.
All right, the Pope. You're gonna have a front row seat. What is Pitt's keys to success to having a good season like a 9-3 season?
I think the health we saw last year, but I also think that you need to have another receiver step up and not have Des Reed have to have 40 carries a game. You need Jules Goff to be able to have 10 to 12 touches a game, either handoffs or out of the backfield, to give Des Reed a break, and he needs to average like 4 yards per carry on those attempts in order to confidently spell Reed for multiple times. Because you saw games last year where Reed was cramping in the fourth quarter. In the Clemson game, he wasn't able to finish that last drive. In the West Virginia game, he wasn't able to be on the last drive. We need guys to be there in the clutch, so we need to be able to have quality depth this year.
Yeah, I mean, not much else to say for me. Obviously, healthy offensive line. We talked about that enough. We protect Eli, let him do his thing. We know what he's capable of, and then get after the quarterback. Get back to what Pitt was known for, is sacking the quarterback. So those are two things for me if we want to have a good season. So we do have we have a special person on the call. This is the Pitt Pope. I want to talk to you for a couple minutes or so about what we expect from the Panther Pit this season. So my first thing I want to ask is, how are you feeling, man, entering your last season as Panther Pit leader? I remember for me entering my senior season at Oakland Zoo, it was kind of scary that I was about to be done soon. So how are you feeling entering your last season as Panther Pit leader and the Pope?
I think it's been like exciting. I think there's nerves. If there wasn't nerves, you didn't care. I think that it hasn't really gotten to me of like, I don't want to sound like I'm popular, but like a lot of people do know who you are, and like you are a person, like people look to you during games on what to do and how to act, and I think that's been something that's been really crazy for me to kind of realize this last couple years of Pitt.
So yeah, I mean, I'm not there anymore. The boom's not there anymore. All the boys like the fish and tone aren't there. So how's it feel like you already said, how's it feel to be like the current face of like the Oakland Zoo / Panther Pit?
I think it's important that you find people that are passionate about Pitt sports. I mean, we have great Panther Pitt leaders. The Oakland Zoo leaders I haven't gotten to interact with as much, but they're passionate about the sport. I think I will die on the hill that Pitt students are not the issue when it comes to attendance or other issues that people put on the Pitt fan base. We average like 14, 15,000 students at Pitt games. We last year had to move the student overflow to behind the student section, so now it's one cohesive unit all the way up. I think that the students are always there with signs and are very passionate, and you see the athletes around school, they're very happy to talk about what we mean to them, and I think it means a lot to them. Narduzzi will speak tomorrow at the pep rally, or at a pep rally, then he'll speak at Bonfire, talking to him, it really understands. He knows what a good student section means, and a lot of the guys realize it as well.
So anything special planned for this season?
Nothing confirmed. I mean, we got our giveaways. The T-shirt picture should be out tomorrow on the socials. People have been starting to pick them up for a week. You know, we have a couple challenges with Miami, so hopefully something in a giveaway item there, especially because students aren't in school. It's a Saturday after Thanksgiving. Hopefully the Pitt Ohio State game for basketball at 2 o'clock on Black Friday brings people back. But there's going to be giveaways very similar to last year. We're going to keep doing shark stuff. We're going to try and incorporate the herd and all the other position group stuff. So should be a good year with plenty of things to cheer for.
I mean, from my experience, the first game of the season is always one of the best student attended games because everyone's really excited for the football season to start. So what should the fans expect from the student section on Saturday, for the Duquesne game?
I mean, it's going to be filled. The first football game, as a freshman, it's kind of like surreal. I mean, thankfully, my first game was the West Virginia game in 22, so I am gifted a better start than these guys. But I think it can really propel people who haven't had a big school or a big sporting event in their life to kind of realize how cool it is to be this close, and it really reminds you that there's a finite amount of home pick games that you have. I will finish my career with 27 home football games, and they go by quick. I mean, it feels like just yesterday I was at the 2022 Backyard Brawl. So I always stress to people that it's really easy to count to 27, and for those games to end, you want to live those freshman year games as much as you'd want to live your senior year ones.
For sure, and I'm excited to see the opening game. I remember last year was there; the energy was amazing. But please don't leave after Sweet Caroline. Like it's about to be like it's only gonna be like 1 or 2 o'clock. Like you're not gonna try to go to Tequila Cabo or whatever the freshmen want to go to. Come on, stay the whole game. Watch some of the backups. But yes, yeah, I agree. I guess me and the fish could definitely say like be grateful, be present. I mean, being in the zoo and the Panther Pit was some of my favorite memories ever. It was just so much fun being able to be there. So I tell everyone younger than me, just please enjoy your days in college because they go through super fast because you're gonna end up like me and the fish being super washed up and doing these podcasts and not even be able to last a tequila cowboy anymore. So I just recommend just being grateful of your days at college. It's the best days. The fish, do you have anything you want to ask to Ian or anything to say?
I mean, you guys hit the nail on the head. Like, I'm basically the exact same thing. You're gonna really enjoy these games, especially if you're a freshman listening to this. Go to all of them. Go to as many as you can. I met the lifelong friends, people felt closest to my entire life at these sporting events. I would build communities based off of them, and is why I'm in this podcast right now. Even though I live in Boston, I still text these guys every day. So you'll meet people like that moving forward. And I mean, like, even the games themselves are amazing. That West Virginia 2022 game, I have a picture, like a panorama picture framed. I got at Rally House in my room now from that game because it's like what genuinely that and the Mississippi State basketball game are like two of the best sporting events I've ever attended in my life. The feeling of MJ running right at me in the student section when he had that pick six. There's just nothing like it. It's especially now being a 9 to 5 where you just commute to the office every day, go back. It tells you how, you might have been stressed in school or whatever, like worried about exams. Our problems are so small, especially in school. So just like build those connections with people, live in the moment, and continue to like enjoy your life.
For sure. I mean, those 2 years, we were in the Zoom, and we still have a group message texting each other. We have one of the best cores in Oakland Zoo history, and we're still together like brothers, still texting about the teams every single day. And we're lucky to have such a great young buck like Ian keep our traditions going. This guy's an absolute superstar. I'm so excited to see what you do this year, Ian. And so, yeah, let's finish this out with some hot takes. Ian, what's your hot take for this season?
I think on paper that this is Pat Narduzzi's most talented roster. I think that the expectation should be, even though the expectation is always win an ACC championship, that 10 wins should be what we should expect from this Pitt team. I think that if everyone stays healthy, you're super talented at all aspects with depth behind them that can show out. And I think that Pitt has been getting disrespected, ninth in the ACC media poll. I think people are focusing too much on the 0-6 and the 7-0, even though the 0-6 happened first. I think that we filled in a lot of the gaps in the portal, and with how conference championships are aligned, and depending on where the two losses fall, you can be sitting here in a couple months planning your trip to the ACC championship and seeing Pitt compete uh, with an extra game this year.
I already talked about it, but I think Rashad Battle at the end of the year will be in contention for the Jim Thorpe Award. I think this guy has everything it takes to be an absolute superstar core. You saw some weeks last where this guy absolutely dominated the number one receiver. He's gonna do that all season long with all his experience. I think he'll be the next Starduzzi cornerback, and I think he'll be one of the better ones after this season. So yeah, I have Rashad Battle having a monster season and being in contention for the Jim Thorpe Award. All right, the fish. What's your hot take? We've all been waiting.
Yes, and I have a good one now. So maybe this is not going to be first place votes, but you will see Desmond Reed receive at least one third place Heisman vote this year. That is my bold prediction. I mean, you look at his stats from last year. He had 1,500 all-purpose yards, 9 touchdowns. A guy who was finished fifth, I think. The only running back that was on that list, or there were two of them, Genty, obviously, but Cam Scadaboo finished fifth. He had 1,700 yards and 21 touchdowns. I don't think it's unreasonable to say that Des Reed makes that jump. He's already a first-team All-American. He's already getting all of these accolades preseason. I don't think it's too crazy. It is pretty crazy, but that is something that I hope would be awesome to see Des Reed's name on the Heisman voting at the end of the season.
Well, that's a way to how to finish off this podcast. I think he has the ability to be a Heisman candidate for sure. But yeah, that's going to wrap up this Pitt football preview podcast. Super excited to see how this team pans out, what players break out, what games we win. Seeing Ian in his Pope costume. Hopefully, I could get my washed up self doing something again. So, but yeah, I'm super excited for this season. Thank you guys for coming on and looking forward to keep in touch with you guys throughout the season, everyone in the Pitt community. So, of course, hail to Pitt. I can't wait to beat Duquesne.